The first thing my apartment did wrong was breathe when I wasn't. I noticed it at 2:14. I know the exact time because I was staring at the red digits on my microwave clock, unable to sleep, counting the seconds between thunder flashes outside the window. A storm had rolled into the city without warning. No wind buildup, no gradual pressure drop. One moment it was quiet. The next, the sky was ripping open with soundless sheets of lightning behind thick fog that shouldn't exist in a dense urban area. The fog outside my 7th floor window wasn't rising from the streets. It was hanging at my level, drifting past windows like something misplaced. I took a slow breath in, and from the wall behind me, something took the same breath back. Not an echo. A separate inhale, perfectly timed. I held my breath. So did the wall. Every hair on my arms rose at once. My phone vibrated on the table, and the sudden movement made my heart stutter. An emergency alert lit up the screen. The tone warped like a slowed-down siren played through wet speakers. Severe weather anomaly. Localized fog indoor penetration event. Lock all windows. Do not open your door. If you hear breathing that is not yours, it is already too close. Too close to what? I stood up slowly, every muscle tight. The storm outside flickered again, lightning illuminating the fog in brief, total white flashes. In that half second of overexposure, I saw something move past my window, not flying, walking, at 7th floor height. Its outline was wrong, long arms hanging too low, head dipping forward at an anatomical angle that made my neck ache just looking at it. When the light vanished, the shape vanished with it. The fog pressed closer to the glass. Then came the knock, not at my door, on my bedroom window. 3 taps, soft, polite. My phone buzzed again. If it knocks, it is asking for consent. Do not provide it. I backed away from the window until my shoulders hit the opposite wall. The fog outside swirled inward, compressing as if it were being pulled through a needle-sized gap in the glass. The knock came again. This time something scraped downward along the outside of the window from top to bottom. Long, slow, like fingernails testing surface tension. A voice followed, calm, friendly, completely wrong. Hey, I think you dropped something. My stomach turned to ice. It was my voice, not recorded, not distorted. Current. As if whatever was outside was listening to my thoughts and replaying the idea of how I'd sound before I actually spoke. Another alert hit my phone, more aggressive this time. Mimic proximity confirmed. Do not respond in any language. Do not mouth words. It can read shape from silence. Read shape from silence didn't make sense to my brain, and that made it so much worse. The fog slipped past the window. Not through a crack, through the glass. It folded inward like fabric being pulled through itself and poured into my bedroom in slow, deliberate sheets. The temperature dropped instantly. My breath became visible. Then the hallway light turned on by itself. That faint yellow glow spilled under my bedroom door, and I heard paws on the floor outside. Slow, careful steps. 4 of them. My phone buzzed again, almost vibrating out of my hand. If you see a dog indoors, it did not enter through a door. The footsteps stopped outside my room. Something sniffed at the bottom of the door. Wet, close. Then a faint scratching sound as claws tested the wood. The doorknob turned. Not violently. Patiently. Like something learning the rules of rotation for the first time. You always leave this unlocked, my voice said softly from the other side. I hadn't spoken all night. The door creaked open an inch, and I saw the eye, not an animal's eye, not human either, too reflective, too flat, a perfect white disk peering through the gap, catching the hallway light without depth. Another eye slid into view beside it. Then a third, stacked vertically. The door opened wider. The thing that leaned into the room had the body of a dog stretched wrong, too tall, too narrow, spine rising up into a shape that tried to become upright and failed halfway through. Its fur didn't move when it walked. It slid like texture pasted onto a model. And its shadow stood fully upright on the wall behind it. Human proportioned, too still. My phone vibrated violently, brightness spiking. Body/shadow. Desync entity entered your apartment. The dog is the speaker. The shadow is the listener. If both acknowledge you at once, you will not be alone in your body anymore. The dog took one silent step into my bedroom. The shadow took one step toward me. Both mouths opened at the same time. One spoke in my voice. You left the window open. The other spoke in a voice I hadn't heard in years. We found you again. Behind them, the hallway stretched farther than it should have. My apartment no longer ended where it used to. It was making room. And the storm outside struck with the first thunderclap that actually made noise. The moment both mouths opened, I felt it. A sensation like pressure behind my eyes, as if something inside my skull had turned its head to look outward. The dog's 3 stacked eyes rotated independently, each one reflecting a different version of my room. One normal, one stretched long, one inverted like a negative. Its body didn't move forward again. It waited. The shadow on the wall did move. It slid along the paint without changing shape, gliding across the surface like a cutout being dragged over a projector screen. It didn't mimic the dog's movements anymore. It ignored the dog entirely. It only tracked me. The phone vibrated violently in my hand. The screen stuttered. brightness surging as if multiple alert systems were fighting each other. Multi-source tracking confirmed. The shadow is locking onto your positional profile. Do not cross through it. It is a listening surface. Listening surface. The words barely registered before the shadow leaned closer on the wall, stretching thin until it nearly touched my chest without physically leaving the surface. The temperature around that spot dropped sharply. My breath came out in foggier bursts. The dog stepped forward again. No sound, no shift in weight, just displacement. Now it was fully inside my bedroom. The hallway behind it had changed. It was longer. Not visually, spatially. What should have been 5 meters stretched into something that felt like 50. The yellow hallway light that should have ended at the bathroom door now vanished into a dim vanishing point, like the corridor had been duplicated forward and forward again into a tunnel that the building architect had never drawn. And from that stretched darkness, I heard it. More breathing. Not one set, many. Overlapping and unsynchronized. My phone pulsed again. The building is replicating empty space. It uses hallways to increase population capacity. Population for what? The dog tilted its elongated head slightly, joints clicking softly as it realigned. You moved in late, it said in my voice. We weren't ready yet. The shadow rippled in response, and the word yet echoed in the room in a thinner, delayed copy of the same voice. The walls answered. A faint, synchronized inhale passed through every surface at once, drywall, ceiling, floor, as if the apartment itself took a collective breath. The floorboards under my feet softened slightly, not enough to sink, enough to feel alive. I staggered backward until my calves hit the edge of the bed, the mattress depressed before I sat down, as if anticipating my weight like a trained animal. Another alert tore across the screen. The room is beginning to mirror your intentions. Do not think in straight lines. Too late. Every instinct screamed door. The moment that thought formed clearly in my head, the hallway reacted. It bent. Not physically at first, perceptually. The doorframe stretched subtly taller and thinner, the angle of the corridor shifting a few degrees to the left like a camera adjustment. The dog's ears lifted. There it is, it murmured. The shadow's head snapped sharply toward the doorframe on the wall. They had felt the thought. The hallway light flickered and multiplied. One hallway became 3. 3 became 6. Each one slightly offset from the next, fanned out in overlapping wedges of yellow-lit distance, like perspective itself had fractured. In every corridor I saw the movement, not people, outlines of people, standing where doors should be, waiting in doorless frames. My phone screamed again. The apartment is offering you path options. None of them lead out. The dog lifted one thin in-between limb, not quite a leg, not quite an arm, and pointed gently at the nearest duplicated hallway. "This one feels like you," it said softly. In that hallway, one of the outlines lifted its head and used my voice. "Don't make this harder." I didn't respond. I couldn't even swallow. The shadow slid across the wall faster now, breaking its previous smooth motion and instead moving in jerky, frame-skipping increments until it was directly behind me. The light dimmed around its edges as if it drank illumination rather than blocking it. Then it spoke, not with sound, with memory. Suddenly I wasn't in my bedroom anymore. For half a second I was 10 years old again, sitting on a bed that wasn't this one, listening to someone breathing in the room when I knew I was supposed to be alone. I gasped hard, the image tearing away instantly, and the shadow flinched as if injured. The dog's eyes rotated wildly. "Don't give it that yet," it said sharply. "That belongs to later." Belongs to later? The hallway figures shifted, all of them at once. Their outlines grew darker and more defined, like the building was receiving better signal quality for them. Some of them now had details, clothes, faces. One of them was my neighbor from 2 floors down. One of them, impossibly, was me, wearing the clothes I had on when I moved in. Each copy stood in a different hallway, all facing inward, all breathing out of sync. My phone vibrated weakly now, like a dying pulse. "The building is using you as a template. It is filling vacant units with echoes." The dog took another step closer. I could smell it now. Not wet fur, not animal musk. Stale air, like a closed room that had been sealed too long. The shadow pressed fully against my back. I felt cold spread through my spine without pressure, like a thought passing through nerves instead of electricity. Both mouths opened again. The dog spoke in my voice. "It's easier if you stop thinking about outside." The shadow spoke in my mother's voice. "You always hated leaving anyway." The hallway answered. Several doors that hadn't existed before quietly unlocked themselves all at once. And for the first time since this began, something inside the apartment made a sound that was not imitation. A deep, slow creak from beneath the floor, like a massive joint rolling in preparation for movement. The building was not just rearranging. It was getting up. The first knock came from inside the wall behind my bed, not from a door, not from the hallway, from within the structure itself. 3 slow taps, wood on wood, measured, curious. My entire body locked. The dog in front of me went still, its 3 eyes rotating toward the sound with sudden precision. The shadow against my back stiffened like a listening membrane pulled tight. The knock came again, this time closer to the surface. The drywall bulged inward slightly with each tap, flexing like soft cartilage instead of plaster. A faint dusting of white powder drifted down onto my sheets. My phone vibrated weakly in my hand, the screen dimmer than before, like the battery was being drained by something other than time. Internal contact detected. This knock did not use a doorway or corridor. The building has started introducing occupants through structural media. Structural media. The dog tilted its head. You weren't supposed to hear them yet. It murmured in my voice. The shadow twitched against my spine, and I felt a strange tightening in my chest. Not fear alone, but the sensation of being aligned with something that didn't have a pulse. The third knock was different. It wasn't a tap. It was a drag. Something slid along the inside of the wall from left to right, slow and deliberate, tracing the studs as if counting them. The sound carried through the entire room. The hallway lights flickered. Every duplicated corridor outside my door dimmed at once, their figures turning their heads in perfect unison toward my bedroom. They were listening too. Then a voice whispered from inside the wall, not loud, not distant, right behind the paint. I locked myself out. It was my neighbor's voice, the one from 2 floors down, the one I hadn't seen in weeks. My throat tightened. That's not possible, I whispered. The shadow reacted instantly, a sharp cold pressure surging against my back, punishment for speaking, and the dog snapped its head toward me. No names, it warned softly. No denials. The voice behind the wall tried again. Can you just open it? I can see your light. There is no door in that wall. There never was one. The drywall bulged again. This time, I saw the shape of a hand press outward from inside it. Fingers, palm, knuckles, all rendered in perfect human anatomy, except for the fact that the hand was on the wrong side of the wall. It wasn't trying to break through. It was trying to be recognized as already inside. My phone buzzed again, barely audible over the sudden ringing in my ears. The building is testing social access points. It is offering you familiarity as a key. The hand withdrew. Then something else pressed out. A face. Not fully. Just the hollow suggestion of eyes and a nose deforming the wall inward like a mask being pushed from behind. You always helped me with the mail, the voice said gently. Remember? I did remember. And the moment I remembered, The wall softened. The indentation deepened. The face gained detail. The building rewarded recall. The dog hissed softly, the only animal sound I had heard it make so far. Don't give it anchors, it warned. It grows where you recognize it. The shadow suddenly slid off my back and stretched across the floor in front of me, forming a dark barrier between me and the wall. For a split second, the temperature in the room dropped sharply again. The face in the wall recoiled slightly, not in pain, in offense. The hallway outside erupted in knocks, not random, rhythmic, perfectly staggered. Every wrong door in every duplicated corridor was being tested at once. Knock dash dash, pause dash dash, knock dash dash, pause dash dash. A building-wide heartbeat. My phone vibrated one more warning, now barely readable through the interference. Occupancy sink event. The building is filling itself from the inside. They will ask to come in because they are already here. The voice behind the wall changed. It slid from my neighbor's tone into my father's. Open up. The words hit harder than the temperature drop. The drywall flexed under the pressure of the face again. The shadow barrier weakened. The dog took a step back for the first time. Something had shifted in the hierarchy. Then the knocking began on the ceiling, on the floor, on the inside of the closet door, on the backs of the kitchen cabinets. I could see through the open bedroom doorway. All wrong surfaces, all wrong angles, all too deliberate. The building wasn't being haunted, it was being used, and whatever was using it was counting how many versions of familiar it needed before I would break. The wall face spoke again, softer now, coaxing. You don't have to be scared of walls. You live in one. A long, slow creak rolled through the entire apartment. Not from the floor, from under the floor. Like the building's weight was shifting onto new supports. The structure was committing to a movement it hadn't completed yet. The dog's voice dropped to a whisper. They're not trying to enter anymore. The shadow slid backward, reforming against my legs. They're trying to be let out. The knocking stopped, all at once. Silence fell so fast it felt like pressure change. Then, from behind the wall where the face had been, something opened its eyes on the inside. I didn't see the eyes. I felt the gaze, and the voice no longer belonged to any single person. You're the only door we still haven't learned. The floor beneath my feet shifted orientation by a few degrees. Not slipping, recalibrating. My balance wavered. The duplicated hallways outside all began to slowly rotate around a point I couldn't see, as if the building were trying to decide which direction out should now mean. The dog turned toward the spinning corridors. The shadow tightened around my legs, and somewhere deep below the apartment, far beneath any foundation I'd ever known existed, something large and structural exhaled for the first time.